Okay, Alan, you saw a movie that I did not see,
Yes,
and it's
a re-release. Let's be fair.
well, yeah, it's playing at IMAX theaters. It's Queen Rock Montreal. It's a concert film in IMAX. Alan, what did you think of Queen Rock Montreal?
Yes. Well, if you're familiar, this has come out before. There was I guess, a dual series called Queen Rock Montreal and Live Aid. This is the 1981 concert that took place at the Montreal Forum in November of 1981. It's been transferred to IMAX, and I saw it last night. And let's just say I've been a relatively good fan of Queen. I wouldn't say I'm a super fan, but I do like their music. And this is probably the first time I've ever seen them actually perform live. And that was my interest in seeing this. And, what I love about these 80s and the early 80s, mid 80s concerts is that there's very low production value. It's just a simple stage with lighting and four guys having fun on stage and singing and watching the crowd. Stop Making Sense was the exact same feeling. And so if you're a Queen fan and you want to hear the greatest hits, this is a great movie to see. But the bigger criticism should just come around that fact that it's an IMAX, and I believe there was some sound and audio upgrading done as well. And I would say overall it was fine. After seeing the redo of Stop Making Sense, this one fell far short of that in the sense of, and I'll tell you, it's basically, you have the film looked really good, but still felt like a film print. But the sound, all the music, all the sound was up front on the screen, and in the background was the crowd. So that's there were moments where they did kind of play with the IMAX sound and give you that immersive feeling. But overall, I wanted an immersive feeling, and I didn't get that immersive feeling. And that's kind of what you're hoping for when you go to see something in IMAX. It just it was just a great concert movie on the biggest screen you can get to. And so, yeah, if you're a fan of Queen, and this is definitely for you. But if you want to see innovations in concerts in IMAX, you're not going to get it with this one.
Well, it brings up a question. Mm-hmm. Why are so many of these getting released?
Because maybe content, maybe the lack of content, the lack of films coming out.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
My point is that so many of these are coming out now. The Stop Making Sense, Talking Heads film, the Queen Rock Montreal, because movie theaters don't have anything. I mean, look, I was at the AMC Burbank 16, normally packed. It was dead last night. I mean, the biggest movie probably, was Beekeeper's second weekend. Which I like The Beekeeper. I thought it was a lot of fun. ISS was the new movie opening, the new big movie, and it was a pretty full screening. But then I snuck in to see Godzilla again, and it was packed. The theater was 100% full, and I was like, I'm just going to sneak in and watch like one scene. I loved it. I was great. I don't know why they just don't keep Godzilla in theaters going forward. It's really fantastic. But
I'll give you my it because of the upcoming Godzilla movie. I think there's a deal that they have to pull it by February.
Oh wow. Well, in any case, movie theaters, there's a lack of new movies to get people to get butts in seats, and I think that's why you're going to see more things like Queen Rock Montreal. I don't mind it. We're seeing like I bought tickets to see the 1984 David Lynch Dune. It's the 40th anniversary of David Lynch's Dune, and I'm seeing it in a theater in February. I bought tickets. I can't wait. But it just goes to show that fewer and fewer screens are for the big tentpole movies because there aren't as many of them, and so
Yeah. And worse is the studios are putting a lot of pressure on theaters to keep their movies in and run them for longer than what they're contracted for. and no one's coming to those theaters. They're forcing movies to use up their valuable space for movies that no one is seeing. The most recent example was I don't know if you remember, but Soul was re-released last weekend, and it made, I believe, $500,000 across the nation.
Yeah, it was in so Pixar re-released Soul because it really didn't get a proper theatrical run. It came out during COVID.
It was a COVID film, yeah.
Yeah, and so they re-released it and it tanked. It only made $400,000 on 1,000 screens. That's empty. It's empty. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And Disney was enforcing it has to run 2 weeks in one of your theaters for five screenings a day.
That's I mean, you know what? They'd be better off re-releasing Snow White. Re-release the classics in theaters. Do you know how huge Snow White re-release would be in a movie theater? And Snow White's like a 60-minute movie. It's really short. They should consider re-releasing the classics. The recent films clearly have not turned into classics.
You want to know how Disney can make a lot of money fast and for very cheap? Re-release a restored version of Song of the South.
Wait, I want to go full screen for you to say this.
Release a restored 4K version of Song of the South, and not only that, not only show Song of the South, but go to Disney Plus and make documentaries about it. Make a documentary about the filming or the animation of Song of the South, and better yet, make a documentary about the problematic nature of Song of the South. Just go right out there and talk, and just let both sides present their cases for this movie, and Disney will make a lot of money in a short amount of time, and it'll cost them very little to do it.
I just think that we're not living in a time where we can have a two-sided conversation. We only can have a one-sided conversation on any topic. We only want to hear from this side only, and we want to suppress voices on the other side, so only one opinion gets out there. It's the mono conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's also
I had a different word in my, I don't know what I was doing.
But
I haven't had enough coffee yet, folks.
It's also this idea that for some reason the powers that be don't think we can think for ourselves, or worse, they're afraid that we can think for ourselves. And
that's the reality.